Wow, y'all. So what he was saying, y'all, was Richard, just like in the story with the Egyptians, that every house needed a lamb. Say it like this. The house needed the lamb. So here he was in the wilderness speaking, y'all, to these people who, guess what they were? Houses. They were houses. You know, we are houses. We're houses. We are temples. We're houses. We belong to the Most High. Christ has been paid for us. So he says, God behold the lamb. Every house, he's saying the same thing. Every house needs a lamb. So check this out, y'all. This is what happened. Here in the life of Yeshua, he goes and John says, no, I can't baptize you. He says, yeah, you have to baptize me because my daddy said you have to baptize me. It's already been prophesied in the scripture. Daddy said we got to do this, so we got to do it, just like he said. Suffer it to be so, that the scriptures might be fulfilled. That's what he told him. He said, you got to baptize me. You got to take me down and baptize. So he baptized him. Understand that what Yeshua went through was he went through. See, because what a lot of people won't talk about is a lot of people won't talk about the fact that his testing did not just happen when he went before Herod and Pilate. That was the last part of his testing. His testing happened from the very get-go. When he's out there in the wilderness, he's being tempted of the adversary. All of this testing and all this trying. When he gets to this point where he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he's praying to be relieved from the duty of having to die. You understand what I'm saying? I had a person ask me, they said, when I look at that story, he didn't really want to die for us. I don't know, if it's all. I said, wait a minute. Let the pause for a second. Let me help you understand. He had to walk through all those temptations. He had been here for 33 years. The natural part of him absolutely did not. But you have to understand that we were just dealing with the natural part of him. We're also dealing with the spiritual aspect of who he was, which is why he told his disciples, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So he had to suffer through all of these temptations or whatever that came upon him. He had to suffer through all of that. Mm-hmm. So yes, he a part of him did not. Okay? But anyway, Matthew chapter 3. That's where that baptism takes place. He says, now behold this lamb. So he goes on. He goes through his trial, goes through his testing. He goes through the temptation. He endures. Then he gets to this point. He gets to this point, y'all. Well, the next Shabbat, I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth because I'm gonna point these dots to you to show why he's the Messiah, because he fulfilled every prophetic thing that was concerning, all the way down to the T. Y'all, do y'all really know that the scriptures even prophesied how much money he would be betrayed for? Mm-hmm. This is in there. The prophets said exactly how much money he would be betrayed for, and they even prophesied in detail what would happen with the money. They prophesied that boy would throw their money back into the temple and say he didn't want it. That's something else. He sold everything everything about him to a T was prophesied. Because I told y'all before, Yeshua is Torah. Amen. Everything, he is the word that became flesh is Torah. So anyway, he goes to this temple. He goes, watch this, before these rulers. He goes before Pilate. Pilate sends him to Herod. Herod sends him back to Pilate. Guess what Pilate says about him, Richard? At the end of the inspection, I find no fault in him. Wait a minute. Let me settle this question, because there's a lot of stuff out there with a lot of goofiness. Let me settle this question. Let me ask you, was he a male?
Yes.
Was he a male?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a male. He was a male. Okay? He wasn't thinking he was. He was a male. And he was in the prime of his life. He was 33 years old. Mm-hmm. In the prime of his life. Okay? In the prime of his life, he's examined. He's examined. And then Pilate comes back and says, I find no fault in him, before the whole assembly. He says, I find no fault in him. Now check this out. Wow. This is the other beauty of it, okay? Because once Israel got to the place where they were established as a nation, okay, this process was a little bit different, because once they became established as a nation, then they had to take the lamb before the priest. Okay? And then what would happen is every house would take a lamb to the priest, and then what the priest would do is the priest would actually take, there would actually be two. There would be what was called a scapegoat, and then there would be one that would be called the sacrifice, or the sacrificial lamb, and then the scapegoat. Now, these had to have some identical markers about themselves, or some they had to almost be identical, really be identical in some ways. One would become the sacrifice. The other would become the scapegoat. So what it meant is that one would escape with sin on him, while the other would be sacrificed upon the altar. Okay? So again, in order for him to fulfill the requirement, this had to be the case. So guess what happened, Richard? Here was Yeshua. Here was the Messiah himself, who was the son of the Father. Right? He was the son of who? The Father. He was his Father's son. Yeah. So there came a point in time in his trial where there was another fella. Gosh, y'all. Y'all know how many criminals there were that could have been picked to be set free? And out of all the criminals that were picked to be set free, there was a fella by the name of Barabbas. Barabbas. Bar in Hebrew means son. Abba means father. So here is the son of the Father, the Messiah himself, who was the sacrificial lamb. And then there was Bar-Abba, son of the Father, who was the scapegoat, who left with sin on him. Amen. Gosh, y'all. That is so clear that here he was presenting himself very clearly. I am who I said I was. I am the Messiah. The whole time y'all said that I'm not the Messiah, and you are fulfilling every messianic prophecy that was spoken about him. The fact that they rejected him, the fact that they did all the stuff that they did to him and pulled all the stuff out, the fact that all the stuff that they did to him was 100% prophesied. Isaiah said, surely he had borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Here he was. He had all of these things that happened to him. Watch this, y'all. So he goes there. He's offered. He's sacrificed. And here's the beautiful thing, y'all. The beautiful thing was, well, another beautiful thing I should say, is here he is, the appointed lamb. Yeshua, the Messiah. The appointed lamb, the appointed lamb who is passing away at the appointed time. Amen. Let me say it again. Here he is, y'all, the appointed lamb who is passing away at the appointed time. 6 to the 9th hour. That sounds like dust to me. Mm-hmm. Amen. God, y'all. So watch this. At the same time that the lamb in the temple was being sacrificed by the priest, guess who was up on the execution stake? Dying. You sure? Now check this out. Check this out. He's pretty tough. And I'm going to tell you why I say he's pretty tough. He is pretty tough because not only was he the lamb, he was also the priest. Watch this, y'all. He was the lamb. We see real clear he was the lamb. He was the lamb, but he was also the priest. How do you know? Well, as long as he was laying down, as long as they were beating on him, as long as he was the lamb, matter of fact, he did utter a mumbling word. As a matter of fact, the lamb that was supposed to be sacrificed had to go willingly. If you read the instruction, had to go willingly. He was tied. When you see the story of Abraham and when you see the story of Yitzhak or Isaac, then what you start to understand is, he said, well, me and the lamb, we're going to go, we're going to return. He puts that fire together. He puts that boy up there on the altar. And then what happens, he turns around and says, when he gets ready to slay him, he turns around because the father says, no, there's a ram over here, caught in the thicket by his horns. There's a ram in here caught in the thicket by his own. There's a ram in here caught in a thorn bush by his head.
Oh, wow.
Amen.
Wow. The ones around his head. Gotcha.
There is a ram here. Watch this. No, Isaac does not have to die. Because this ram who is caught in the thicket by his horns is going to die for him.
Thank you. Thank you, Father.
Amen.
And then the scriptures say to us that the Most High declared the good news to Abraham. So here, I'm telling y'all, everything that happened with him, every single solitary thing that happened with him happened for a purpose and for a reason and to fulfill something. And he was also breaking something when he did it.
Yeah. Thank you, Father.
Watch this, y'all. Y'all see how that mind control I just got you talking to y'all about that was happening? Guess what happened to him? Richard, why do you think that they had to put that crown of thorns on his head and let it bleed? One, so that we can see that picture that was shown to Abraham up on the mountain was accurate, demonstrating the fact that here he was caught in the thicket. The second reason is because he had to bleed, because guess what happened? Our disobedience was what produced the thorns in the first place. After man fell in the garden, he told him, he said, now I got to kick you out, and now everything you get, check this out, he tied two things together. Everything you get, you now have to get by the sweat of your brow. Yeah. So watch this. The sweat of your brow is only going to allow you to produce something with thorns in it. He cursed the ground and said, now the stuff that grows is not just going to grow, it's also going to come with thorns and thistles. It's there, read it. So now he says, what happened is this, now you have this particular mindset where you now have gone from work, which is proper function, to labor. Labor, which never allows you enough. Labor, which always gives you enough to continue to come back. Not work. Work means proper function. Look at it. Work means proper. He gave him work in the garden. He gave him work. Watch this. Watch over the garden. Tend it. Keep it. He gave him work. He gave him a proper function. But then when he fell into disobedience, now he was given labor, which means he would never have enough to get ahead. Never have enough. He went from labor, he went from work to labor. So watch this. He goes back and he says, because he who was the first man, Adam, messed this up. The second man, Adam, is going to now not the curse that he earned, what he had to earn by the sweat of his brow. But he says, I'm going to show you something. They're going to take these thorns that was produced by your disobedience. It's going to be up on my brow, and my blood is going to be shed. Y'all see that? The man had to work by the sweat of his brow and got thorns. Yeshua had thorns that were put upon his brow. Because he was saying that the curse, the mentality, the mindset that came with being cursed had to be destroyed.
Amen.
I'm excited. But he's tough. So he was the lamb. As long as they were beating him, as long as they were whipping him, as long as they were putting stripes on him, he was the lamb. But the moment he stood up, he became the priest.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to say that again. I said the moment he stood up, he became the priest. How do you know he became the priest the moment he stood up? Because only the priest could be the one to make the declaration of the freedom from sin. And that was these two guys. One was on the right and one was on the left. And one had something smart to say. And the other ones that was on the right said, hey, this man is not like we are. Gosh, y'all. And he says, hey, when you come into your kingdom, he's a king. When you come into your kingdom, remember me. He says to him this day, you'll be in paradise. Watch this. Not only was he doing that, guess what he was doing as a priest? He looked up at those who were crucifying him. He looked up at those who were putting him on the execution stake. I know they call it the cross, this execution stake. He was putting them up on the execution stake. And he looked at them and he said, looked at the Father and said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The lamb couldn't do that, but the priest could. So he was both the lamb and he was the priest. Boy, self-sacrifice. He was the lamb and he was the priest. So he sacrificed himself. What happened was, just like what happened with the blood of the lamb that was put up over the doorpost. When the death angel came through Egypt, he passed over he passed over the Israelites. Firstborn of the men and of the cattle of Egypt died. Firstborn of all of Egypt was spared because of the blood of the lamb. Now let me give you this, and then I'm gonna finish because I got some more dots to connect, but we'll do that next week. Turn real quick because we read in Leviticus and we read in Exodus. But let's see, because there's some people that's gonna tell me, well, you know, we don't got nothing to do with this. We'll turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. And I'm going to 1 Corinthians chapter 5 because, you know, there were some people who need, you know, as we look at this, we want to make sure we give everybody their definitive proof. Okay? 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Okay? Look at verse number 6. This is Shaul, the apostle, talking, or emissary, actually is the correct word. Watch this. He says in chapter 5, look at verse number 6, your boasting is not good. Don't you know the saying, it takes a little leaven? Or the Hebrew word is chametz. I'm going to deal with that bread and that leaven next Shabbat, okay? He says, to leaven a whole batch of dough. Get rid of the old leaven or chametz, so that you can be a new batch of dough, because in reality you are unleavened, or that's without sin. For our Pesach, or your King James Bible will say Passover lamb, the Messiah has been sacrificed. Look at verse number 8. Now, if you read out the King James Bible, it says, so let us keep the feast. Y'all see that? If you read the King James Bible, that's what it says. Okay? Here's what it says in the Hebrew text. It says, so let us celebrate the feast, not with leftover chametz, the chametz of wickedness and evil, but with the matzah of purity and truth. Y'all see that? So he says, so let us celebrate. Okay, I get it. That's what Paul was saying. Okay? But we're going to show, and I'm going to show you real clearly on next week. I'm going to show you real clearly how we see the Messiah clearly throughout this entire thing. Actually, we're going to actually tie all the feasts to it just in some little bit of synopsis. But I'll show you how he's revealed in all of these feasts, especially through this Pesach. And then I'll show you why it is so important for us to understand why this became a perpetual regulation. And whether you realize yourself as naturally a part of the seed, or whether you realize yourself as grafted or accepted in. Because what you start to understand, again, the thread has to be kept from the beginning to the end. And from the beginning to the end, that was what you're going to understand is that Sinai, there was a mixed multitude. There were people who had almost kind of been grafted in, that had become a part of Israel. You'll see it. It's all the way throughout the scriptures. They were connected in. This is why whenever he would talk to them, he would always give them instructions, not only for themselves, but he would say, the stranger who is among you, and whoever has decided to become a part of you. This is how the whole story of Ruth and Naomi and all is, because they were grafted in. So whether you see yourself as a natural born or whether you see yourself as grafted in, this is applicable because when he spoke to Israel and he spoke to all of them. Amen. And I've said once before that if I have children, my natural children who are born to me, if I happen to adopt some more children, I have already laid down the rules and the groundwork for the children that were naturally born to me. When the children who are adopted come into my household, I don't change my rules for them. They have to now adapt to the rules that apply to my family.
Amen.
You have now become a part of my family. So you become part of my family. Although you were not a part of my original conversation, everything that applies to them applies to you because you are now a part of us.
Amen.
So when he said to Israel, there was perpetual regulation. When he said to them that it was forever. When he said to them to keep it. He was telling them that this was going to be forever through eternity. So much so until when we see him, everybody keeps singing about sitting down at the welcome table and don't even realize that the welcome table is the Passover supper that we will have with him. Because he tells his disciples while he's having the Passover supper with them, I'm going to drink this cup, but I'm not going to drink this cup again until I see you in my Father's kingdom. Same. We're going to talk about the cups. We're going to talk about all of that, okay? But I just got to end it right there. Okay? There's a lot to teach. Amen. Father, thank you for your word. Still in our heart. Cause us to grow and to develop and to mature more fully in that which pleases you, Father. Thank you for giving us these times to celebrate and to remember that which you have done. Thank you that you have made these things remembrances unto you. Not religious ordinances, not religious festivals, not any type of religion, but Father, thank you for the relationship that you have with us, that you've given us the opportunity to participate and to celebrate with you. In Yeshua's name we pray, in our Messiah's name we pray. Amen. 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 Blessings.
Amen. We're gonna take up the offering.
Glory to his name. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Listen to me, y'all.
Hallelujah.
I am
Those
so
that are on the conference line, those that are here, let's just take this moment.